No, this is not clickbait. Seriously, I really bought Kim's undies, paid for them with my own money. Oh, and in case you're curious, I'm wearing them right now. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. Antonio, is this a midlife crisis? Are you a cross-dresser? Antonio, are you starting OnlyFans? The answer to all those questions is a resounding no. So then, why did I buy Kim Kardashian's underwear? Well, gents, the real reason is a lot more interesting than me being a sexual deviant. Here, let me show you. Gentlemen, this is the brand new men's underwear line from Kim Kardashian's company, Skims. Now, as some of you guys may know, about 4 years ago, Kim Kardashian launched a women's underwear line. Skims specialized in underwear that was also shapewear and that matched the skin tone of the wearer. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I found out they launched a menswear line, and I was genuinely curious. Is this stuff any good? So I went all in and bought their entire collection. Now, I'll be honest, gents, as the resident men's style expert on YouTube for the last decade, I've got a lot of really nice underwear. But let me tell you, after wearing Skims for the last week, I was really surprised at what I found. So who is Kim Kardashian? Well, Kanye's probably still trying to figure that one out.
I guess we'll never know.
But seriously, Jen, she's an American media personality, socialite, and entrepreneur. Because you gotta hand it to her, the woman basically recreated influencer marketing. And with a net worth of $1.7 billion, you have to admit she's doing a few things right. Now, the story with the Skims brand is that she loves wearing shapewear. She couldn't find anything that matched her skin tone, so she took matters into her own hands and started up this company. Now, I'm sure there's a little bit more to it, such as seeing maybe Sarah Blakely crush it over at Spanx. But at 3 years old, the company did do $500 million in sales, and this year they're projected to do $750 million. So why get into menswear if the women's side is doing so well? Well, apparently it's all about customer data. They noticed that 10% of the visitors to the Skims website are men, which turns out to be about 50 million men over the last few months, and they're like, hey, we could sell these guys something. So let's dive into the 4 products that I purchased. First up, we've got the men's 5-inch boxer briefs. Now, they do come in a variety of colors, but I kept it consistent across the board. Everything I bought was in black. Now, they call it onyx to sound fancy. Also, with everything I bought, because I'm a value guy, I bought it in the 3-pack. And straight up, I got to give them kudos for the range in sizes that they offer. Now, the second item I picked up was their men's tank. Again, I picked up the 3-pack, stuck with the same color, onyx. The third item I picked up was the Skims stretch t-shirt. Now, what's interesting here is that this wasn't black, it was obsidian, which again, it's the same thing, same color. Now, the fourth item is the one I'm wearing actually right now, which is their long sleeve t-shirt. Now, it was in the underwear realm, and I'll talk about a little bit later how I would classify this. And this one, I only bought a single because they didn't have it in bundle packs. And again, I stuck with black. So what are my first impressions? Again, gents, I want to remind you this wasn't sponsored. A lot of times I work with sponsored brands, so I'm wondering, am I getting preferential treatment? This, I was treated like anyone else. Now, the box was solid. The packaging was actually really nice. I liked how they had that outside, just a whole look. And I get it. This is a new line. They're trying to make a great first impression. But what's cool about this, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, if somebody wanted to give this as a gift, it's going to be presented really nice. Now, every bundle came in its own packaging, and what I appreciated about it, it wasn't that difficult to open up. So now let's talk about the fit. Well, first up, as you can see, I don't have the body of Adonis, but I have what I consider to be an average build for a guy that's in his mid-40s. And what I found is that it was true to size. The boxer briefs were very comfortable. I appreciated how the waist on the elastic was actually large, that it didn't cut into the skin. It wasn't overly tight. And I also appreciated the modern build. They didn't have a fly because, let's face it, the majority of men are not using that when they go to the bathroom. And they had a nice little pouch system that was incredibly comfortable. And the material on the legs was close fitting, but never felt restrictive. Now, the tank top fit really close. It was comfortable still. It wasn't true compression wear, but overall, I really liked. I don't own a whole lot of tank tops. It's really not my style, but if I were to own one, I'd say this, they did a great job with this. Another thing I noted on the tank top is how they paid attention to the ends. This is something on a lot of lower end brands. You can see like loose stitching all over the place. I didn't find any. And in fact, you could tell that they really spent a lot of time making sure that where it touches the skin and sometimes it can bury itself in, they did a really good job. It was smooth and incredibly comfortable. Now, the t-shirt was a much looser fit. I was surprised by this, but it was a welcome surprise because even though it's really lightweight material, it was dark enough and you couldn't see through it. I could actually wear this to the gym. Now, would I wear this as an undershirt? Well, if I'm going to button the shirt up all the way, you could, but one of the issues with this is that they only come in crew neck. They don't have a deep V-neck, which a lot of times if you're wearing a shirt and you want to unbutton the top buttons, you'd show the undershirt. And last but not least, the long sleeve shirt. It fit a little bit looser than I expected, but I can see how you could actually wear this as a t-shirt, not necessarily as an underwear piece. It was thick enough. And as you can see, I'm wearing it in today's video and I think it looks pretty good. All right, so now let's test this stuff. Let's stretch it out. Let's throw it in the washer and dryer a few times. Let's see if it can deal with some wear and tear. Now, as you can see here, they're saying the material is made from 43% cotton, 43% modal, and 14% elastane. Now, most of you guys are familiar with cotton, but in case you're not familiar with modal, modal is basically a man-made cellulosic fiber. What that means is they usually take beech tree and they basically beat it up almost like they would with paper, and then they are able to spin a material out of it. So it does use natural materials, but it's man-made in terms of the way the fiber is spun. Now, elastane is a synthetic fiber, and it's very similar to spandex. In fact, they're both made from the same polymer, have very similar properties. And straight up, all these materials are very commonly used in higher-end underwear. But I think where I have a little bit of an issue with this is they call this their cotton collection, yet less than half the product is actually made out of cotton. I know some of you guys out there are really particular about that. My son being one of the guys, he only wants natural fibers touching his body. So this for me is, I think they need to fix that. That being said, if they adjusted the website and how they describe this, I think this combination is perfectly fine. If not, actually, the results are this has a nice stretch to it. It's incredibly breathable, comfortable. I really like this underwear. If I want to be nitpicky about anything, it's probably going to be the band. I do think they probably could have spent a little bit more, gone with a little bit higher quality band right here. I can see after maybe 50 washes, this starting to fall apart. Now, as you can see here, what's interesting is the tank top is made out of the same material components, strangely enough, in the same percentages, which doesn't seem accurate because they're using, there isn't an elastic band really in on this. That being said, by law, manufacturers have the ability to be close. They don't have to be exact on that, but to me, it looks like they just use the same label. Overall, though, when it comes to stretch, it always bounces back. If you like tank tops, they seem to have done a great job with this. Now, the t-shirt is not listed as cotton because it doesn't contain any. It's 84% modal, and it's got a really nice stretch to it. And again, modal is made from this, it's basically from a natural material, although it's a man-made spun fiber. Now, what's interesting here is that they say that they're using 16% spandex versus elastane. Again, the difference is minute. All that being said, I like it. The stretch, it comes back. It feels like it's well made. And if it was just a bit thicker, I think it would make a great workout shirt. That being said, if you're out running in the Texas heat, probably want to choose white, but maybe you're running at night, this would be a great shirt to throw on because it's going to breathe and it would almost feel like you're wearing nothing. Now, the long sleeve, this one is definitely cotton. It's 92% cotton and 8% spandex. Now, it definitely does feel like cotton, but it's got that stretch in there, so you know that the spandex is present. It definitely has a heavier weight than the t-shirt. It feels more like cotton than the tank top or even the underwear. And I guess the only question is, how's this stuff going to fit after I run it through the wringer, throw it through the washer and dryer quite a few times, and maybe even over dry it for a couple hours? All right, gents, so straight up, the tank top, the t-shirt, and the underwear did not fit any differently. They maintained their size despite keeping them in the dryer for a couple hours. Nothing seemed to fall apart. They kept their colors, and I even washed them with a white t-shirt and nothing seemed to bleed. Now, the long sleeve t-shirt did fit a little bit more snug, but this one stretches out, and that makes sense because it's got the cotton component in it, but it wasn't enough of a shrink that it really affected the way the shirt fit on me. Now, this next test was much more subjective. I just simply wore the underwear. I wore the tanks, I wore the t-shirt, I wore this long sleeve. I wore the underwear basically for every day for a week. And I have to say that it was comfortable, that it was, felt just as good as a lot of the high quality underwear that I have in my closet. And I liked it. Now, at this point, you may be wondering, how does my style measure up? What actions do I need to take? Well, gents, if you haven't taken our style quiz over at Real Men Real Style, I'm going to link to it down in the description below. This is a free and fun quiz in which we ask you questions and then we give you a breakout of your style score and areas that you can improve. But if that's not enough, if you're a man that wants to take action, you're tired of watching all of these videos and not actually following through, going through and buying the clothing, revamping your wardrobe, improving your image, then you need to check out our course, The Style System. Over the last decade, this has been the internet's go-to professional men's style course in which we teach you exactly what you need to know. The goal of The Style System is to give you the information you need to take action so that you can become your best dressed self. Seriously, gents, you're going going to walk into a room and unless I'm present, you're going to be the best dressed guy there. Seriously, I've met men who have gone through my course and they put me to shame at times because, yeah, I dressed down and these guys came in and they owned the room. But seriously, gents, check out the course. It's all about action. It's about you taking the steps to become the man you know yourself to be. All the links to everything I just mentioned down in the description of today's video. So now let's talk about price. Is this influencer brand worth your money? So a pair of their men's boxer briefs are going to cost you almost 20 bucks. The t-shirt 3-pack, almost 100 bucks. Over $30 a shirt, and if you buy it individually, almost 50. Long sleeve t-shirt, over 50 bucks. Straight up, gents, if you normally buy Fruit of the Loom, if you buy Hanes, even if you're buying Calvin Klein underwear, understand that Skims is at a whole other level. Seriously, you can't even compare them. These things are so much more comfortable. But you're also paying 1/3 the amount with those other brands. Now, if I were to compare Skims to a higher end underwear brand like Sheath that specializes in active men, they've even got that little pouch system. I've talked about them before, great sponsor, but I would have to say that I still am going to prefer Sheath because they have a better elastic band around the waist. That being said, Sheath doesn't really offer any undershirts. So Skims has a great selection there. Now for undershirts, and I could have done this as well for underwear, I could compare Skims to Tanny, and I would say that Skims is actually coming in at a lower price point. But I would say that Tanny still has an advantage in terms of the quality because they're using micromodal over there, which if you're not familiar with micromodal, that's even softer. It's like silk. It's incredibly luxurious to the touch. So what I'm saying here is on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of underwear luxury, Fruit of the Loom, Hanes, those being 2s and 3s, maybe Calvin Klein being a 4, I'm going to say Skims is at a 7, but they're not an 8 or a 9 like Sheath or Tanny, which it's interesting that they actually price themselves at about that point, the midpoint between the lower end and the super high end. So based off that information and my own testing of their products, I have to say they are a fair deal. Now, after saying all this, how can I say they're the future of menswear? And what was it that really impressed me about Skims? So first up, it was the length of the undershirts. If you're 6'4", I'm gonna have to say that this company seems like it's geared towards you. These things were really long on me. I'm 5'9", 175 pounds, but it makes sense when you look at they're the official sponsor of the NBA. And thinking about this, it makes a lot of sense if you know about the Kardashians and their love life. But seriously, gents, it seems to be a pretty smart brand. And what I also like is they're unabashed about the materials they're using. You see a lot of legacy brands like Hanes, Fruit of the Loom, they're actually stuck into a supply system where they have to pretty much use cotton, even though a lot of these other materials, in my opinion, are really great for men's underwear in terms of comfort and stretch. So I love how they're using a lot of modal in these materials, and with that bit of spandex, elastane, they're just incredibly comfortable. And this is great for another demographic I think they're targeting, and that is athletes or men that aspire to be athletes. Seriously, we've got a company that's founded by an influencer, and she's using influencers like Nick Bosa, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Neymar Jr. to sell men on status and association. And let's face it, a lot of you guys that have a woman in your life, she wants to maybe give you a gift. She's looking to buy you to upgrade your underwear. Well, if she's already shopping on Skims, they've got a built-in customer base that they can just sell more product to. And since I've bought the products, they've already added some additional lines, some additional products, and they are soon going to get into the compression wear space. Now, do I personally think guys are going to get into that? I'm not sure. But I do think Skims is going to be around for a while, and they're going to shake things up in the men's underwear industry. And gents, what video to watch next? Well, boom, I got you covered with this one right here. Oh yeah, click it. You will go to the next video like magic. And yes, come on, tired of holding this thing up. Come on guys, click, go, check it out. Good video.